Hello guys, and welcome back to the show. I do apologize for my long absence from YouTube and from other platforms. As I mentioned it in my last few videos, the last couple of weeks of work have been very stressful and demanding. But now I am free as a bird and I'm trying to make the most of it. The other reason why I currently am struggling and why the layout of this video is probably a little bit different from everything else I've done before is because I have got a new gear and I'm still setting up a variety of things, and yeah, not everything is working still to perfection, and because of I'm not exactly a genius of these things, yeah, not everything is going perfectly fine. What is going perfectly fine is that I'm going to show you a game, because why not? I played it against a very respected American international master, and I thought that I would talk a little bit about the game itself as well as the structure that we had in this game, because it was quite fun, and of course first and foremost, or most importantly, because I won the game. And I always prefer to talk about winning games like everybody else, with the exception of Mr. Hübner, but that's a different story. So this is the Panov variation of the Caro-Kann defense, and so far we have been playing theoretical moves, and here the correct continuation is what actually happened in the game, which was knight takes c3. b6 is a mistake here because of white gets to transition into a different pawn structure, the symmetrical pawn structure, whilst maintaining tremendous pressure on the c6 knight. The bishop is coming to f4, rook c1. It is just a superb version of this variation. This was actually shown in a game between Botvinnik and Alekhine, so we're talking about a 60-year-old example, and since then it has been known to be really bad, which is the reason why black normally takes here and changes the pawn structure to hanging pawns, excuse. No, that was Philip. Alrighty, sorry. I'm not even sure if that popped up on the recording screen. Whatever. Yeah, whatevs. So yeah, the hanging pawn structure is an interesting story because it's still similar strategy from both sides to the isolated one, in that I'm trying to utilize the space advantage for more active piece play and attacking on the king side / in the center, whereas black's main aim is to swap off as many pieces as possible and stir it towards an endgame, because if you look at it, these two pawns are on semi-open files. So when black places his two rooks onto those two files, these pawns will be very vulnerable. The problem with the hanging pawns is that whilst they are very good when they are side by side because they cover a lot of squares, they can't be protected by other pawns, so they heavily rely on each other, and as such they are easy targets. Alright, so moving on. He played b6, bishop d3, all theory, bishop b7 and pawn h4. I think that this pawn sacrifice was introduced by the outstanding theoretician and really strong player from the 70s called Razuvayev, Russian grandmaster, and he played this line a fair bit and had tremendous success with it. The idea is that if bishop takes pawn, then after knight takes queen takes rook e3, rook lift to either g3 or h3 is going to give a huge initiative to white. Normally g6 is forced, and after rook g3 white is threatening to trap the queen with bishop g5, thereby forcing the queen back. Then white may opt to put the bishop onto one of these two squares, and because of white does have the dark squared bishop and black doesn't, it gives a lot of room for attack and initiative. Now my opponent rejected this and just simply played bishop f6. Now what it does is actually, yeah, I don't really know what it does. It is supposed to improve the position of the bishop as well as allowing a regroup, but neither of them is particularly meaningful if I keep the position like this, or I should rather say if I keep my pawn structure like this, because both of these pieces are going to be looking at my d4 pawn, but that is heavily fortified. So now I revealed the other point of h4, well that's hardly a surprise, knight g5 of course, and now h6 can be strongly met by knight h7 when I hand down that bishop for a knight. So he had to play g6 here. Against which I played probably second best move possible. I think that best is knight e4. I went for queen g4 as main line. Oh, we want this to be our main line. And we also want this to be our main line. And we also want this one to be our main line. Here we go. No, something is still not right. Oh, this one to be main line. Goody. So queen g4. The idea is to cover the knight so that when I play h5, the knight is safely protected. So now I'm bringing more and more dudes to the king side, whilst he's not really doing what he's meant to do, which is to offer me piece swaps, or attempt piece swaps, and to put pressure onto these pawns. He played knight e7, which once again is probably doubtful in light of what's going to happen. h5. I'm carrying on with my attack. Knight f5. I took it. He took me back. And that was my time when I went like, alright, if you want to realistically assess the position, I have to admit, or not necessarily admit, but recognize that my pieces have achieved their maximum potential. And that means that in these given circumstances and in this given position, I can't, well, I could develop a bishop to d2 or f4, but that wouldn't really improve the power of this bishop. I don't really need the rook to be on any of these squares to make my kingside attack any more powerful. So this is my high time to strike. And that is exactly what I did. I have a very good chess coach who taught me once checks, captures and threats. No checks on the horizon. I went with the most logical capture. Takes, takes and check. And this is pretty awesome because the more logical bishop block loses to queen takes e6 check, winning the knight on f5. So he had no other choice but to drop back to g7. And this is a very important position where a lot of weaker players would go wrong by starting chasing this king to the middle, thinking that it's more exposed here, which is actually true that it's more exposed here. The problem is that we can't exploit it because our pieces are tucked away, and the further I chase it, the safer it becomes. So yes, now I managed to gain some material back at the most horrid cost, which is that all my initiative is gone. I can't possibly hurt this king anymore, and after he reorganizes his pieces, he eventually will be the aggressor, which I really didn't want at all. And as you know, we always prefer initiative over material. Now obviously I did look at this, but I very soon realized that it was rubbish. And when I got to this point, I realized that this is a neat checkmate. All I needed was to cover this square. So then I thought, so why don't I play bishop a3, which by the way does develop this bishop finally to a very meaningful square. And this is actually not an attack on the rook by any stretch of the imagination. It's very clearly a mate in two threat. Look at the beauty. Check, and a remarkably awesome checkmate. One that is not that easy to stop, actually, because these two squares can't really be covered by black. So he needs to create a so-called luft for the king, and that's exactly what he did by playing, I think he played rook here, did he? No, he didn't, let me think. What was played? Oh no, he dropped back to e7, that's right. I knew that if it's, I mean, rook e8 doesn't change a thing, it's still mate. No, he played bishop e7. And that was the moment when I felt like, I'm pretty sure I have a forced win here, but I couldn't just see it because, again, the immediate check scenarios don't lead anywhere. The king is very exposed again, but my two main attackers are tucked away, and I can't really use the third piece, which I would really love to do, to deliver the final blow. Not good enough. And then I noticed a truly awesome motif that I reckon is, yeah, really cool, and I was very proud of myself for finding it in a 3-minute game. The idea was that I still wanted to do this bishop mate work. And in order to do that now I needed to cover the f6 square. So that's precisely what I did by taking on e6. However, there is a trick to it, because after bishop a3, if I go check, king here, and bishop check, the king has to take my rook. And of course, when I did do this, I already saw the concept, which is not particularly hard. I just wanted to double up and then do the mate. And my mouse was already hovering over the rook when I realized what a horrid mistake I was about to make by coming here. And I would have hated my own guts for doing this, because actually if I come here, then queen here prevents this mate in a really ugly fashion, and I think I'm lost here. And consequently, and this is a typical case of move order issues, I needed to go check first, king here. Please note that the knight is still pinned, except from a different angle now. And then rook e1, bringing the last attacker into the game. And now again, the renewed threat is bishop g6 checkmate. And now this can't be parried anymore without losing a zillion of material. My opponent tried rook e8 as a defensive measure, creating a luft free square for the king on f8, but got mated promptly by queen g6 check. Actually, wait a second, what am I getting wrong here? Oh no, sorry, he went to rook g8, that's right. Sorry, I played this game more than 2 weeks ago, so my memory is playing tricks on me. He played rook g8 and got mated by check, king f8, rook check, queen takes, and checkmate. Which I think was a really, really cool attacking game. Once again, I hate to blow my own trumpet, but I think that overall, these moves were quite high quality stuff, especially considering that it was a 3-minute game, and I'm still struggling with promoting variations. So no, that didn't happen. Bishop e7 happened. Promote. Rook took, no. Rook took is promote. Sorry guys about the technicalities. Bishop took happened. Check here. So that's main line. Queen g6 here. And this happened. And so rook g8, and that was the end of it. That's the mate. And actually rook e8 was also possible here, which is met by a different checkmate even faster. Bishop g6 check, king back, and then the back rank mate on h8 finishes the deal. So that was a quick game that I played in the last few weeks, and I thought that it was worthy of sharing just to demonstrate to you the attacking potential of the white army in similar kind of attack scenarios, and a few of the mating patterns and attacking patterns, including this piece sack and then shattering the king's defense. I think it was a rather good game, and I also wanted to make my presence felt so that you know guys that I am back on track. The lessons are now beginning at a crazy pace, and I'm going to upload more and more content hopefully again. So thanks for those who were wondering about what happened, and thanks for those who were patiently waiting. We are back on track guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.